I met Terry Stewart in the emergency room at Westchester Medical Center. He's a Canadian citizen who was in New York on business driving his car when an oncoming car driven by a person who was text messaging at the time went into his lane and hit him. So he was involved in a high-speed head-on collision, which is one of the worst type of injuries you can sustain.
I had no money. I had no insurance. The woman that had the insurance was enough for about a day in the hospital. And I had a face that was a monster.
His entire left cheek was actually completely avulsed or ripped off from the windshield. And he had fractures of his eye socket and cheekbone as well. So once I knew that all of his nerves were intact and he didn't have a face that would be paralyzed, because if the nerve was torn, avulsed, injured in any way, he'd have a paralyzed face on that side forever. I then had to repair the broken bones, and we basically take the bones of the eye socket and the bones of the cheek, we put them back in the right position, and then we keep them there with very small, very thin titanium plates and screws. And those plates and screws stay in for life and they never bother a patient. The next layer, the muscles and the skin. And since he was completely missing the cheek on that left side, we had to bring in tissue from another part. So we took tissue from the back of his neck, extended the incisions, and then rotated the skin from the back of his neck to his face. And then we covered that large defect in his face by borrowing tissue from the neck. And it worked out quite well. We were able to get complete coverage of his face and rebuild all the bones in the first surgery. Medical point of view, he had satisfactory results. The tissue was covered, the nerves were protected, the bones were fixed. From an aesthetic or cosmetic standpoint, he didn't look that good. He had significant scarring to the point where he felt embarrassed to go out in public, and he was teased by his grandchildren. So for most people, this would have been enough. But to me, I knew that was only half of the job. Without getting rid of those scars, without making him look better, he would never feel right and never be that same human being that he was prior to the accident. And that's just as important as fixing the bones and fixing the tissue.
He just volunteered it. He said, if you don't like what's happened here or the results of after it heals, he says, we'll work something out. And it was encouraging, but I didn't believe him. I just thought, no, this is, he's just saying that. Many people do that. Many people really want to help, but when it really comes down to it, it puts them out, and you very seldom get what they say you're going to get. Not so with Dr. Alessi. Not once in the entire time I've known him that he ever dropped the ball, or that I ever felt that I was in his way, or that I was a charity case. He was halfway down the hall and he turned around and he said, Terry, he kind of yelled at me. He says, don't give up. He said, that's what they'll want you to do.
The second surgery, we took him back to the operating room and we did numerous scar revisions on his face. We cut out the old scars. We tried to make the new scars smaller and jagged in the sense that instead of one large line, it was broken up into lots of little lines that would fool or camouflage the eye, and try to get them to heal as well as possible. And the way you do that is you hide the scar in a natural wrinkle of the face. It's called a resting skin tension line. And by doing that, it heals the best, and you also hide it the best.
But I remember waking up in the recovery room and still not believing it. And there was kind of blood all over the place, and the gauze here. It was kind of soaked up with blood, and I made an excuse to go to see the bathroom. And when I looked in that mirror, I was the handsomest man in New York. And that's how I felt.
It's incredibly gratifying for me to be able to make somebody feel the way they used to feel.
And it gave me back my life. And I'm so beholden to it. Yeah.
And in Terry's case, what made it more difficult was that he's a Canadian citizen. So he actually lived in the United States, not being able to work, not making any money, and he lived in the United States for a year and a half without making a penny, just so we could operate on him at Westchester Medical Center. So that tells you the level of commitment that patients will go through to feel and look like they used to prior to an injury. So if they're going to go through that, the least we can do is help them get there. Been about a week since our last procedure.
Yeah.
It looks like you're healing very well. Most of the stitches are out. I still see 2 remaining stitches. But I think you're doing quite well. It actually looks very good. That dimple is gone. It's replaced by a thin scar that hopefully fades over time.
I don't even care about it.
Yeah, it actually looks very, very good. I'm glad that that dimple is now gone.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
There's a lot more gone than I didn't realize too. But it's the human thing that I'm very, very appreciative, and that he never ever let me down in spirit at all.
Terry has offered to take me to some parts of Canada that, quote, no man has ever been to before. So I'm very excited, and I am going to take him up on it one day.
He loves animals and stuff like that, so I could show him then until the cows come home, you know what I mean? Yeah. So.
And he's an amazing, remarkable man. Very giving, very loving, very caring and compassionate. None of these things I knew when I first met him, because when somebody first comes to us after a traumatic injury, you see a shell of a person, so you don't really know what type of person you're dealing with. And you treat everybody the same. When they first come in, you do your best possible to help them in any way you can. And that's what we did for Terry.
My face is bad, but I'll take more than my face when I go home. I will take a renewed encouragement to humanity and to a man that doesn't even know me, that's reached out and helped me. I'm going to miss him, and I think probably he'll miss me.